Awesome. Hey everybody, welcome to another e-group series. I hope you're having fun in your e-group. I hope you had some good food. If your e-group leader hasn't provided food, hey, dob them in. Hit us up at therevolution.nz on Instagram. Say my e-group leader hasn't, and hey, we'll sort it out. But it's so awesome that you're at e-group. We're about to kick into our series, How to Change the World. Because hey, as the Revolution, that's what we're here to do. We're here to see our world change, because that's what Jesus asks us to do. And we find that in a whole bunch of spaces. Well, we're called to be like Jesus, and Jesus changed the world. Even if we look at the date or the year that we're in, in 2021. Maybe you're watching this in 2025. Hello from the past. But that number is 2021 years after after the birth of Christ, BC AD, because Jesus, he's changed the world and he's called us to do the same thing. And in the Gospels, we have what's called the Great Commission, which Jesus then goes, hey, he's talking to his disciples and they did a whole bunch of awesome stuff and he changed their lives, and then he asks them to go into all the world and to change the world by making disciples and spreading the good news and the hope of Jesus. And so that's why this series is called How to Change the World, because that's what we exist to do. We exist to change our world, whether it's your school, whether it is your community, whether it's your family, whether it's just your group of friends. Hey, what we know for a fact is that they need Jesus, they need hope, and it's on us to partner with God and to see that happen, right? And if we look at our world, anytime something has changed the world, something seemingly impossible had been done at the time, right? So, something massive that's changed the world is social media. Like you can't imagine our world without social media. But I don't think when it was first invented or started, anyone really thought it was possible to be able to connect with people all over the world, to be able to share your life in that level of detail, right? Probably shouldn't share that level of detail. Like, we don't want to see your toenail collection. But it is something that has completely changed the world, because it was something that was impossible that became possible. Even when we look at, things like an iPhone was something that was revolutionary and changed the world, because no one would have thought, or no one thought it was possible to have like a camera, have a phone, have a map, have, all of these things, a calculator, all in one device on your phone, and that can connect you with anyone, anywhere in the world, right? It was impossible, but it was done, and that's what's changed the world. And I think for us, in order to change the world, in order to change the world of our families and friends, in order to see change in our schools, it actually requires us to do the impossible. Which sounds scary, it sounds crazy, because it kind of is. But here at the Revolution, we don't shy away from crazy, which you would have noticed if you go to any hub. It's pretty wild there. And if you look at any of the leaders, they're a bit nuts as well. But the reason that we don't shy away from the impossible is because the Bible says in Luke, Jesus says, hey, things are impossible for man, but nothing is impossible with God. And I love that whatever we're called to do, whatever that thing is in your heart, or that change that you want to see in your world, whether it's seeing your family find Jesus, maybe your friends find hope, maybe seeing a revival in your school, maybe you're just sick of all the mental health stats around. Those things might seem crazy, those things might seem impossible, but what I love is that with God, none of those things are impossible. And really what it takes is faith. And if we look at Matthew chapter 9, it's this set of stories which have a whole lot of different people having impossible situations turn around, all because they had faith. The first thing that we see is Jesus gets this man called Jairus come up to him and he goes, hey, my daughter is dead, but if you come and if you heal her, she'll come back to life. That's an impossible situation, but he had faith for it. But as Jesus is making his way to Jairus' daughter, there's a woman with this impossible blood condition. She's had it for years and years. Everyone says nothing could be done, but she had the faith. She's like, if I only just touch Jesus' garment, if I just touch his clothes, then I'll be healed. And she was. There was also two blind men who were put away on the roadside. People, they weren't even in the way of Jesus. But as he was walking past, they cry out to him for healing, and Jesus moves and does a miraculous thing. See, those things, those impossible things that Jesus has done, and that wasn't just for back then. That wasn't just something that happened all the way back then. But that's a life and that's a reality that we can live in now. We can see healing in our world. We can see people's lives restored. We can see revival in high schools. We can see mental health and all those statistics shift. Although it might seem impossible, but when we partner with God and we have faith, like each and every single one of those people that had faith that God could do something and moved based on that faith, and that's when the impossible became possible. And I think that's exactly the same for every single one of us in our schools, or the desires and dreams that God's put on our hearts, to change the world around you, to change your world. All it takes is faith. If we look at the story of Jairus, it's pretty crazy to think that this guy, all I can kind of put it down to is, as he just got really desperate. Like his daughter was dead and there was no other options. There was nothing else he can do, but he was so desperate that he is like, no, I need this. This is the only thing I've got. And I reckon, or I wonder what our schools, our families, our world, our friends, I wonder what those worlds and those spheres of our life could look like if we got as desperate as Jairus and said, I have no other option other than Jesus. I'm going to be desperate in my prayer. I'm going to be desperate in the way that I go about this situation. I'm going to be desperate when I pray by the gate. I'm going to be desperate because I know that this is the only thing that can change people's lives. I wonder what our schools will look like. I wonder the revival that will happen. I wonder the impossible things that we'll see. See, I know stories. When I was in high school, I had a friend at AC Avondale College. And she just started to, she had this encounter with God, and she had this desperate heart to know and for her school to be saved, for her friends to find Jesus. And so she just gathered a few friends and she just started praying for people. There was a time where they did this kind of soup kitchen just to serve people and to show them the love of Jesus. And they were supposed to run out of soup, but as they kept going, as they kept serving, as they kept pouring out, more and more appeared. And then literally hundreds and hundreds of kids in their school got to experience this miracle. The same group of friends, they had this other story where they saw so many healings in their school because they just stepped out and prayed for people. One was a girl whose legs were different lengths, but they believed and they prayed and they were desperate to say, hey, God, we need to see you move in our school. And they prayed and there was healing in that space. See, I want to leave you guys with this challenge, and there's a whole bunch of questions and some cool things to talk about. But I want to leave you with this challenge. And how desperate are you to see God move in your world? Because, man, we're called to change the world. We're called to bring hope and good news. And what that requires is for us to do the impossible. But the cool thing is, with God, all things are possible. but are we desperate enough to step out and do something? To step out and pray by the gate? To step out and invite our friends to Hub or into an environment where they can encounter Jesus? Are we desperate enough that when we see a need that we serve and help people? Are we desperate enough that we get over ourselves and when we feel like God's saying, do something, pray for that person, that we do it? Because I know without a doubt that if we get to that place, in that space of realizing, hey, we can change the world and the only way to do it is God, and we step out beyond ourselves, I know that our world is never going to look the same. I know there's going to be a huge change in your family. I know that your school is going to have a revival. Anyway, that's it from me. There's some questions. Hopefully by now your e-group leaders sorted out some food. I wanted you guys eat something, have a good chat, and we'll catch you later.